the different dimensions of happiness, the different levels of happiness, and how we are going to understand happiness philosophically, psychologically, neurophysiologically through neuroscience and also through yoga and Vedanta. This is how we have taken up the study of the science of happiness. Now, here, let me tell you, if you study it philosophically, different philosophers have given this is a major philosophical issue, philosophical question. What exactly constitutes happiness? Just like how there are other questions, what is life, what is death, and what is the human personality about, what is justice? Just like that, what is happiness is a major philosophical query. And different philosophers have given different explanations for this, starting from Aristotle's time. He used to say that happiness is a question of choice. If you make the right choices, you will be happy. But at the same time, he understood that human nature, it's not so easy to make the right choice because human nature has a rational aspect, it has a sensual aspect, it has so many aspects, so many facades. But anyway, he used to say that happiness is a matter of choice and you can make the right choice. Plato, in his own way, said that happiness is something innate. And if you bring in the right mental state, you will be happy. Like this, different philosophers have given very different views. You know, Bentham and Mill, they used to say that happiness has to do with hedonism, pleasure theory. And so the natural philosophy that they bent towards was utilitarianism. Everything depends on how you can utilize it. And then, of course, you have psychologists like Freud and Jung. These people also have given out their views on happiness. Freud, like for example, believed that happiness is giving vent to your feelings and instincts and everything. And in fact, civilization actually suppresses happiness. So even these type of views are there. Jung, on his side, would say that happiness has to do with, more to do with mind management, the mental state, and it has to do with relationships, establishing good human relationships. It has to do with mental health. So these are also views. So every philosopher has given his own ideas, his own thinking. When you come to yoga and Vedanta, you know how our philosophies were created, yoga and Vedanta. They were the people who created them. Philosophy itself is called darshan in India. What does darshan mean? It's an insight into a truth. It's a window, an opening into truth. And these philosophers were not armchair philosophers, you know, sitting and thinking. You know armchair philosophy? अगर आप जहाँ बैठे हो वहाँ बैठ के think करने को आरंभ करो. That is armchair philosophy. You can think out many things. Thought experiments are there. But if you practice yoga, if you do some form of meditation, and then observe the thinking in your mind, you will see there's a vast change in your thought level. When you still the mind, you control the mind, you allow it to flow in a particular way, you concentrate on something elevating, and then watch your thought. You will see the nature of that thought, the texture of that thought, the quality of that thought changes. So philosophy, Indian philosophies, yoga and Vedanta, were especially born of meditative thought. That's why they are darshanas, insights into a reality. Every philosophy, हम जो षड दर्शन कहते हैं ना, there are 6 systems of philosophy. If you track the founder of every system, you will see he was either a rishi or a yogi. He was a man of meditation. So when you train your mind like this, it's to do with training of mind, and then start thinking, your thought experiment will be quite different. आपकी समझ में आ रहा है? The difference between just thinking, just now if you start thinking, so many things can come into your mind. So many thought forms can come into your mind. Still your mind for some time and then watch your thoughts, you will see the nature of that thought will change. Its conviction producing capacity would have changed. Its ideation and mentation is different. You understand? Its conclusions will be different. इसीलिए we use meditation as a tool to improve the quality of our thought. If you improve the quality of your thought, you improve the quality of your life. Isn't it? So this is how meditation can be used as a very powerful tool to help you form better philosophies, to help you understand the very depths of your psychology. And this is what they have tried to do in yoga and Vedanta. What they have arrived at अब देखो, this happiness which we are discussing, you know, their view of happiness, it was something very, really very amazing. The picture which Vedanta gives you of happiness is, it is inbuilt right within you right now. It is your very nature. Then what is getting happiness about? It is so enabling your body-mind complex to express that inner happy nature. It is just a training of your body-mind complex. This is what Vedanta will tell you. The source of happiness is right within you. हम जो आत्म विद्या की बात कर रहे थे in the last class, do you remember? Existential awareness, we were trying to see what it is. We were trying to dwell on that. That is the very source of your happiness. It is the Atman within you, according to Vedanta. That is the source of consciousness. That is the source of happiness. That is the source of all power. That is the source of all strength. That is your very existence itself. If you tap into that source and so enable the body and mind that it can bring out that happiness, you will feel happy because there's a source of consciousness, your mind is becoming conscious. मैंने last time आपको पंचकोशा का मॉडल दिखाया था ना? Because the source of your consciousness is within you, your mind becomes conscious by coming into touch with that source. The body becomes conscious, enlivened by coming into touch with that source. So the source of all of this is right within you. So this is a really amazing idea. It's a very powerful idea. If you can tap into that source, you will always be happy whether you have the right objects around you or not, whether you have the right situation and circumstance around you or not, you will always be happy. You see, this is the remarkable thing about Indian philosophy. Understanding the subject, tapping the powers of the subject, going deep within. If you are able to understand the subject well, if you are able to understand your own nature properly, you will get control over the object. You will understand the true nature of the object. If you have no knowledge of the subject, objective knowledge becomes very difficult because every object is an object in your awareness. That is why some idea of who you are, how you are, what you are made up of, how you function is very important in order to develop any substantial, deep level philosophy of life. Do you get this point? Whatever I'm telling you, try to internalize it. Try to think about it originally by yourself. A knowledge of yourself is the basic starting point to understanding the world better, to handling the world better, and to handling objective knowledge better and better. You will do better science if you have a solid understanding of yourself. Isn't this true? आपके mind का function कैसे होता है? How does your mind exactly work? If you understand that, you will be able to do your own science even better without the stress and strain, handling your own system much better. So this is how they have penetrated into this science. And what is the exact conclusion they come to? You see, let me give it to you in the form of a very beautiful story. It is not a story, actually. It is called Eka Shloki. It is given by Shankaracharya. It is a small shloka. I will translate it into English for you. It will help you see how they are penetrating into the subject, why they are telling you that the source of your happiness is right within you, how they are telling it. You see, the basic question in this Eka Shloki, which Shankaracharya puts, you answer this question. You are quite capable of it. See, I will tell you, the question is, by what light do you see? He says. आप objects देख रहे हो around you, by what light are you seeing them? Give me your answer. Yes, he has given a good answer, a subjective answer, but preliminary first you are seeing it by, when you go outside you are seeing it by sunlight, or here you are seeing it by electric light. Isn't it? That's an aid to your eye. Then he asks, okay, you are seeing the sun by day and the moon by night, but by what light do you see these, the sun and the moon? By what light do you see? Eyes. By the light of your eyes? By what light do you see your eyes? Think and tell me. Very good. You are seeing your eyes through your mind, and you are seeing your mind through your consciousness. है ना? Awareness है, इसीलिए तो आप अपने mind को भी study कर सकते हो. You are able to objectively study your mind because there is awareness shining in your mind, behind your mind. Isn't this true? So you see, you are being led to the subject, the supreme subject right within you. Any objective knowledge can be had even better, studied even better, if you are If you're clear about the subject, who is studying what, इसको दृग्दृश्य विवेक कहते हैं. You can penetrate deeper and deeper into your own inner levels and understand who is the subject, who is trying to understand the object. A similar thing is being said in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. आप भी इसके आंसर आप खुद ही दोगे. I am quite confident. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a conversation between Janak Raja Rajarishi the, है ना? And Yajnavalkya Muni. He was a Brahma Rishi, Brahma Jnani. So there's a conversation between the two of them, in which Janak asks Yajnavalkya, what serves as light for man? Tell me, what serves as light for you? In what light do you see objects? Same question which I asked earlier. You see it primarily by sunlight. Okay, उन दिनों में electric light नहीं था, so the answer was sunlight. Yajnavalkya Muni ने कहा sunlight, I see everything through sunlight. In the absence of sunlight, what is the light you use? Tell me. Very good. Some other form. He first said moonlight, then he again asked, in the absence of moonlight, what is it? He said fire. In the absence of fire, what is the light you use to see objects? Think and tell me. आप लोग तो याज्ञवल्क्य के बराबर हो. He said consciousness. Try to understand this. In the absence of fire, how do you make your way through objects? Yajnavalkya Muni said speech. I can know things by touching and by speech. In the absence of touch and speech, how will you know? He said consciousness, the self. So आपको समझ में आ रहा है how the subject is working actually. Because you yourself are giving me the answers. Because there is consciousness behind the mind becomes conscious. Through that mind, you are perceiving this world of objects. Through your senses. You understand? This is how the subject is understanding the objective world. At the heart of it all is the self, consciousness itself, which you are. That is your definition, that is your real identity. अगर इसके बारे में कोई भी ज्ञान ना हो आपके मन में, you will be all objective. And you will not be able to understand how exactly you are perceiving, whether you are perceiving your objective knowledge, understanding your objective knowledge correctly or not. Start with the subject. The subject is what is understanding the object. There is a connection between the two, very strong connection, always. In the subject, you are perceiving the object. Through the subject, you are perceiving the object. So this is how gradually they are leading you to this. You will ask me a point-blank question. Many times in our Sunday classes that happens. You see, what is this consciousness that you're talking of? ये consciousness क्या चीज़ है जिसकी वजह से my mind is enlivened, my mind starts becoming conscious and functioning, due to which my senses understand objects all around me and I perceive the objective world. What is the heart of this whole story? Consciousness. So let us start with this inquiry. What is this basic spiritual source of the human personality structure? What is consciousness? If you put this question, you see the answer is very simple. एक subtle बुद्धि चाहिए इसको समझने में, because you yourself are that. Just now you told me how consciousness is the source of all perception. Consciousness is something in whose awareness everything is occurring, isn't it? In whose ambit everything is occurring. So I cannot give you an objective definition of consciousness. I cannot say consciousness ये चीज़ है. इसको consciousness बोलते हैं. Can I give you such a definition? I can't give you. That awareness in which everything else functions, that is consciousness. If you are aware of it, it is not consciousness. Because there is consciousness, there is awareness of everything else through which you function. केनोपनिषद में आपको समझ में आ रहा है मैं क्या बोल रही हूँ? Think about it deeply and it will become very clear. केनोपनिषद में इसका बहुत beautiful definition है, a very wonderful definition of what consciousness means. Let me just give you a few of the mantras here. Yat chakshusha na pashyati yena chakshumshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. इसका मतलब है your eyes, it cannot be seen with your eyes. Can you see consciousness with your eyes? You cannot see it. But your eyes are functioning due to consciousness shining behind the mind. that due to which your eyes function, but which cannot be seen by the eyes. That is consciousness, that is Brahman, the supreme reality, and not this which people worship objectively. You see, we worship gods objectively, isn't it? It is because we are not able to see this real nature. Jaise, just now we are also functioning objectively, so we need an objective aspect of God to proceed further. But the real nature of Brahman or the supreme reality is consciousness itself, which you yourself are. The Atman within you is that. So this is what he is saying. Yat shrotrena na shrunoti yena shrotram idam shrutam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. The meaning is again the same. That which the ears cannot hear, but due to which the ears are hearing. आपके समझ में आ रहा है ये? Isn't this quite obvious? Because consciousness is shining behind your mind, the area of your brain which is the center for functioning of the ear, that area is enlivened because there is consciousness behind the mind. You understand? And that is how your ear is actually enabled to hear. That is how you are able to hear. So that due to which you are enabled to hear, you are able to hear, but that which cannot lead to even the notion, the understanding of consciousness, your senses cannot lead to that. That is Brahman, he is saying, and not this that people objectively worship. Yan manasa na manute yena hur manomatam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Again, the meaning is the same. That due to which your mind functions, but which the mind cannot reveal. Isn't it? आप mentally think करोगे तो can you go to consciousness? By just mentally thinking about it. It is behind your mind. It is that which is making the mind conscious. अभी आपने उत्तर दिया, consciousness is the source factor. So then, the definition of consciousness is that which verily enlivens the mind, but which cannot be tracked by the mind. This ordinary kind of mind. The ordinarily functioning mind. Which is quite distracted. This kind of mind cannot go to that source. So that is Brahman, through which the mind functions, but which the mind cannot reveal. So आप देखिए कितने सुंदर definitions of the supreme reality, what we are calling consciousness is there. So Vedanta is very clear about what the reality of you is. या आपका ही परिचय है. Don't take it as a third person model to study separately. Apply it to your own self. Last class में मैंने आपको बताया था, if you can track existential awareness right within yourself by stopping the commotion in your mind, the intense thought activity in your mind, if you can feel awareness in your mind itself, that is the most powerful clue you can use to go to this source of awareness, which is also the source of joy. It is the source of bliss. This is what the Upanishads tell you again and again, कि ये जो आत्म वस्तु है, इसका नाम ही है सच्चिदानंद. आपने सुना होगा ना? Sat, it is existence itself. Not that it is existing. It is existence itself. It is consciousness itself. Not that it becomes conscious. It is the very source of consciousness. And it is bliss itself. Not that it is happy. It is happiness itself. This is its definition. And this is you. This is your real nature. This source of all happiness, bliss and consciousness is functioning through this body-mind complex. That is why you feel the sense of life, aliveness, conscious, you feel enlivened, and you feel capable of everything. The source factor is that Atman. So this Yoga Vedanta philosophy is directly pointing you towards your real nature. You can discover it by yourself. It is a self-discovery procedure. इसमें कोई belief system नहीं है. It's not a question of you believe this or you don't believe this. You find out for yourself. If you don't believe, even better, you will actually use your intellect to originally go towards the source. So this is the kind of technique that is adopted to show you the source of your very awareness, the source of your joy, happiness. So this is the stand which Yoga and Vedanta are taking. Yoga will actually train you how to go towards that source of joy. By yoga, I don't mean the physical exercises. Please get this clear. I will be using this terminology again and again. By yoga, I mean the actual act of meditation, जिसको वेदांत में निधिध्यासन कहते हैं. If you can study Nididhyasan through yoga psychology, it's a very powerful thing because yoga psychology में बहुत concepts clear करते हैं. And actually the technique which you are using to go towards the self knowledge is Nididhyasan, meditation. So in a way you can combine the two and you'll get vast knowledge of what is happening in your mind and how it can take you back to the source which is you, consciousness, pure consciousness, which is your very definition. So any problem in the mind, you can use yoga psychology. Any existential problem, immediately you can use Vedanta. You understand? They are very powerful systems of thought. ऐसे इनको use करना है. एक book में लिखा हुआ है, I keep the book at a pedestal and worship it and I don't know what is the matter written in it. This is the way we have been using these scriptures so far. But now you must understand this. It is a practical manual for better living, for better understanding, better working, and it is actually dealing with you. Isn't it? This is not dealing with matter and energy or black matter. It's not dealing with anything of that. It's not dealing with black holes. It is dealing with not with any material aspect. It's dealing with your own consciousness. Isn't it? So won't you be interested in it? This is the most interesting subject. That is why I told you it's a science in itself. ऐसे ही इसको study करना है, ऐसे ही इसको लेना है. And if you are able to apply this, penetrate into this, your mind will function much better. आप ये याद रखना, इस knowledge में penetrate करने क्या, what is the result of it? It is not running away from this and that. You cannot run away anywhere, practically speaking, because your world is in your mind and your mind is lodged in yourself. So you will utilize this knowledge only to better your mind and to better your experience of life, to understand life better. Get the most out of life, get the best experiences out of life. That is what this knowledge is meant for. And that is why we will study it only as a science, as I told you. Now here, I would like to go deep into yoga psychology because these are the concepts which you will practically be using. How my thoughts function. मेरे संस्कार कैसे बनते हैं? Thoughts से मेरे संस्कार कैसे बनते हैं? And how my habits are created. You see, this is the major problem with young people. They are not able to handle their own minds. And they do not know, well, how to change their habits. कुछ habits बना दिए हैं छोटी उम्र में, it's going on even now. Now I'm not able to change them. You know, there is a very beautiful story. It's a Zen story which says there was one man who was coming down a road into a town and he was galloping on a horse. He was coming on a very fast horse. So all the town folk were looking at how he is coming at such a pace. इतनी जोर से आ रहा है. So they were all saying कहाँ से आ रहा है, कहाँ जा रहा है. So immediately he entered into the town and they stopped the horse and he said, well, why did you stop my horse? And they asked, where are you going? And he said, I don't know, you ask the horse. I'm not able to get off the horse. Habit, you are riding the horse of habit. आप कहाँ जा रहे हो आपको ही पता नहीं है as a result. If you do not have some level of control over your mind and your habits and your sanskars, you will really not know where you are going. Look at your everyday questions. सुबह उठ क्यों नहीं पाते? Study में concentration क्यों नहीं आता? Your everyday questions. You are riding the horse of habit. If you can bring the whole thing into your hands, won't you achieve success anywhere? Tell me, if your mind was in your hands. So this is how we will be studying yoga psychology. Practically how you can use these concepts and discover the higher dimensions of your own being. अगर एक बार योग में आप प्रतिष्ठित हो जाओ ना, Vedanta is only a matter of time. It will just unfold before you. You will understand the greatest truths of life naturally. But if your mind is not under your control, then all this will appear like theory to you. है ना? It will appear like some scriptural theory. I cannot connect with it. ऐसे हो जाएगा. So this is actually a practical manual to help you work on your own mind, to better your own mind. ऐसे ही इसको लेना है. And this is how yoga psychology will help you. Let me go into some of the basic facts which you need to know about your own mind. Just now if you watch your mind, you know what is happening? एक 2 सेकंड के लिए आप आंखें बंद करो, देखो क्या हो रहा है मन में. So many thoughts and so many ideas and so many things popping up. all at once. Open your eyes, you see now. So many things are going on in your mind. What is your thoughts, your present impulses, your emotions? They are a result of what? They are a result of your past habits, past conditioning, your exposures, whatever you have seen and done throughout today, your actions. The result of all of that is your mental activity, isn't it? यही हो रहा है ना आपके मन में? तो देखिए, here you have to understand some basic concepts on how to handle mind. Our mind is deeply conditioned. Conditioned का मतलब आपको पता है? Can you tell me what conditioning means? Pardon? No, no, no. हाँ, conditioned means already the grooves are made. Already your energy is going through particular pathways. You have already conditioned yourself to function in a particular way. इसका मतलब है जब आपको कुछ thought think करते हो कि आपके मन में actually what happens in your brain, you create a neural pathway. And next time that thought will become easier for you because your energy will tend to flow only through that neural pathway. This is called conditioning. You associate things in such a way that you create definite neural pathways. You understand? I'm combining neuroscience and yoga psychology so to help you understand things scientifically. तो यही होता है. Conditioning means learning to associate things and concepts in such a way that your energy flows in a particular way. Your neural pathway is connected in a particular specific way so that always whenever the thought just pops up in your mind, the energy will keep flowing only that way. Only thoughts related to that will become relevant to you. You understand? This is how we condition ourselves into compulsive thinking. Conditioning का एक simple example मैं आपको दिखाती हूँ यहाँ. See, understanding conditioning. This is happening in your mind right now. At any given moment of time, you are working with a lot of conditioning. It leads to compulsive thinking. You see what happens. ये एक simple experiment है जो आपने स्कूल में पढ़ा होगा. Pavlov's experiment of conditioning. Classical conditioning का famous example है ये. See, if you bring a bone before a dog, क्या होता है? वो salivate करने को आरंभ करता है ना? It starts salivating. Now what the experiment is, Pavlov, what he did was he started ringing a bell before the dog and there was no salivation initially. Then he started ringing the bell along with the bone and salivation started. Then when he only rang the bell, salivation was going on. What has the dog done? It has associated the bell with the bone. समझ में आ रहा है? इसलिए सिर्फ when he starts ringing the bell, immediately the dog started salivating. It has associated the bone with the bell. This is how we learn to associate and connect concepts. And your actually conditioning means response to a stimulus in a specific, very particular way. So that becomes your natural nature due to this conditioning. Immediately there will be one particular response only to one particular stimulus because of your conditioning. So now see, if you don't condition yourself rightly, if you don't make the right associations, you will be suffering from all kinds of negative neural pathways. समझ में आ रहा है? You have made the wrong connections in your mind. And that is why you are not able to see things clearly. You are not able to think clearly. You have negative emotions in your mind, anger. Seeing a person makes you very angry. आप रिलेट नहीं कर सकते, कनेक्ट नहीं कर सकते उसके साथ. इसकी क्या वजह है? एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम मे बी ही टोल्ड यू समथिंग विच यू डिड नॉट लाइक. आपने क्लासिकल कंडीशनिंग कर दिया उसका. You associated the anger with the word with the person. So anytime you see the person, you turn your face away. In this very class, if I praise you for your question, you will start liking the class. If I do not appreciate your question, you will feel, oh, class boring tha. Classical conditioning, I want you to understand this. Why take the example of dogs? Just school children also behave like this. जब school bell ring होती है, at once the excitement starts. Why? Classical conditioning हो गया. Bell with food. Children always they walk to school but they run back home. It's a universal phenomenon. They have associated bell with freedom. When the final bell rings at the end of, आपने भी ये किया है school days में. जब at the end of the day when the bell rings, you rush back home. It's a period of great joy. You have associated the bell with freedom. So classical conditioning ऐसे बनती है. This is a simple example which I am giving you. You have made complex classical conditioning in various ways in your brain. So आपके neural pathways are already formed in that way, and your energies, your thoughts tend to flow accordingly. Now, to get an idea of real joy, to understand real joy, bliss, happiness, you must learn to decondition yourself from the negative pathways. आपकी समझ में आ रहा है? If you are able to do that, your energy will flow. क्यों हम हमेशा एक ही मूड में नहीं रह सकते? Isn't this a common problem? Your anxiety, your stress, it is all to do with negative emotions. You are not able to maintain the same mood all the time because you have conditioned yourself in a particular way. You have conditioned yourself into negative neural pathways. So deconditioning is the remedy. Deconditioning कैसे होती है वो भी मैंने वहाँ लिखा है, आप जरा देखिए. You see, this entire thing, deconditioning, occurs when you separate stimulus and response through discrimination. आपके मन में you must be able to separate the two. Why is my emotion behaving this way? Why is my thought behaving in this way? Why have I made the wrong associations? And practically it means, here in this example, it means putting a distance between the bell and the bone. If you are able to do that, इसका मतलब है, you don't ring the two of them together. You don't ring the bell when the bone is given. You separate them in time and space, and what will happen is your brain will not create that particular pathway. It will not associate the bone with the bell. So आपके practical life में ये कैसे work करता है? Whenever there is anger in your mind, when there is anxiety in your mind, it is because of some wrong association you have done with something in the past, or with somebody, or somebody's comment, or with feedback, negative feedback you received from somewhere. Isn't this true? How will you change it? Classical conditioning has occurred now in the brain. How will you change it? You will disconnect the concept from the person. Somebody, maybe your teacher scolded you for some particular mistake you have made. You have associated anxiety and stress with the teacher. आप ये disconnect करोगे. That rebuke was important for me to change my ways. It has nothing to do with the teacher. समझ में आया? So you will start enjoying that class. You will start enjoying whatever the teacher has to say. ऐसे आपको, you decondition yourself by yourself. If you understand the process of conditioning, you will be able to decondition yourself. If you do not understand the process of conditioning, it will be difficult for you to decondition yourself, क्योंकि आपको पता नहीं चलेगा मन में क्या हो रहा है. Do you understand? Any strong emotion, any strong negative thought, you must become aware. These are the things which actually remove your energy, which do not give you the power to concentrate on your studies. You understand? Emotional intelligence is very important for you to know. IQ you already have. EQ, emotional intelligence, that factor should be high. इसको समझना इसीलिए ज़रूरी है that you are able to handle your emotions maturely. Then you will not fall for things like stress. You will not fall for things like emotional breakdowns, addictions, and I hear even suicides. So you will not fall for all this. If your inner emotional life is balanced, if emotional intelligence persists in you, if you understand how your mind is working. Otherwise, for every little thing, one little comment and you can succumb to it. तो ये तो disastrous हो जाएगा ना, अगर ऐसी हालत हो तो. So remember, you're handling the subject, I told you, handling your own mind and keeping it positive will keep you happy all the time, will keep you glad. This is basic. Even to function efficiently, this is basic. So अच्छी तरह से समझ लो. Remember, if you cannot handle your emotions, you cannot handle your thoughts. Emotional force is most powerful in you. Rational thinking is a bit of you maybe. A large part of your personality is involved in your emotions. The power of emotion is such. You know what emotion is? Emotion is a vast amount of vital energy invested into a thought. And the power of that emotion is such, it can simply blow away your intelligence and will at any point of time. So your emotions must be under your control. They must be refined. They must function at a particular level. And then you will be able to handle any situation. आपके जीवन में negativity आएगी ही नहीं. You will not be prone to anger. You will not be prone to frustration. Anything goes wrong in your life, you will not go into depression. Otherwise, all these things can actually capture your mind completely. आपको पता है ये जो इनर रेजिस्टेंस होता है ना टूवर्ड्स नेगेटिविटी, टूवर्ड्स सफरिंग, दिस विल गो आउट ऑफ योर लाइफ बिकॉज awareness has come to take charge of the subject, to take charge of your mind by yourself. A equation of suffering I would like to give you here. This is an important equation for you to understand. Shall I write it right here? You see, suffering. Okay, let me write it in an empty sheet. देखो, suffering, S. This second equation here, S is equal to P into R. ये एक important equation है for you to know. Where S is equal to suffering, P is equal to pain, and R is equal to the resistance in your mind. The important thing for you to know here is suffering is a result of pain times your resistance. If R is equal to 0, S will be 0 even if pain is there, even if P is there. Isn't this true? If you have learned to handle your own mind, even if some form of pain comes into your life, your suffering will be 0. You don't succumb to the outer situation, to the outer circumstance. If your inner resistance is not there, if the mind is clean enough, if the mind is able to balance itself, if the mind is very stable, you understand? Otherwise, only the mind is itself resisting. Any little form of suffering pain coming into your life, it will result in tremendous suffering. ये होता है कि नहीं? One little word can ruin your day. One little act, unintentionally done, can, for weeks together, you're brooding over it. Frustration, depression, suffering, don't let it let it not dominate your mind. Let it not find any place in your mind. For this, you must maintain this clarity in your thinking, clarity of emotion. Maintain it at a particular level and you see how perfectly this equation works. आपका inner resistance चला गया है. Your mind is so clear, you are able to handle the situation. Negativity coming from somebody also, you are able to handle it. You don't give a negative response to it. Otherwise, one little word and your anger, you batter the person with your words, and the thing only grows, the issue grows. थोड़े दिनों के बाद you will go into depression. And then you will be asking, what is the solution to this? What is the solution to that? So keep your mind clear.
So just to understand, when you gave the example of Pavlov's dog.
Yes.
So if the dog had the same brain that we did.
Yes.
Then he would be able to say that the bell is not the bone.
Yes.
Okay, and that is how he will separate the bone from the bell.
Yes.
And not salivate with the bell.
Yes, yes.
So if with the same example, if somebody gives me a negative feedback,
yes,
calls me a stupid person,
yes,
okay, so I feel bad because it's not the words that are important, but the feeling that it has generated in me of a low self-esteem.
Yes.
So the reason for my suffering is not the words, but the feeling of low self-esteem
generated.
What is being.
Yes.
So if I remove that feeling from my mind, then the words will have no effect. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, if your mind is in a stable state, it will see for whatever word has come in, it will see it for what it is, and it will change itself if required. It will not react negatively immediately to that word. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? If you do not react immediately, it will not generate suffering in you. The inner resistance has gone. Maybe the word was put in there, your teacher maybe put in a word so that you correct yourself. You can generate enormous amount of suffering out of it, or you can just correct yourself and remain happy. So understand the nature of your mind. As she gave you an example, apply it in your own life and see, you generate your suffering for yourself. If you are not able to handle your mind and your emotions, I'm telling you, your intelligence and your will take the back seat. They will get hijacked. Your emotion only will dominate over your mind. So learn to control it and you will be successful anywhere, especially आपकी पढ़ाई में. Concentration you can build up if the mind is clear and there are no unnecessary resistances within. So this is what this conditioning should help you understand. How you condition your mind It's going to decide how you are going to experience your inner life. And how you experience your inner life, your thought world, your world of emotion is going to decide how you are able to function efficiently or inefficiently in life. And that will decide your success. समझ में आ रहा है? So get a hold on the subjective plane, on your own mind. This is the purpose of all this study. Next thing is, what are the factors affecting neural pathways? See, this is something very important. I'm giving you ideas from neuroscience because this immediately you can relate to your life today. What is it that creates those grooves in which your energies move? You see, learning or cognitive experience is the first thing. Whatever you have exposed yourself to, it has become something you have learnt. That is one thing which creates your neural pathways. If you repeat whatever you have perceived or whatever you have thought of, that is creating your neural pathways. And conscious attention spans, anything you do consciously is creating your neural pathways. You understand? It is structuring your brain. It is rewiring your brain. It is deciding how you are going to think in the future. All of these factors. इसीलिए make sure all of these are refined. In the sense, what you learn, your cognitive experiences, your exposures should be good enough. They are going to decide the content of your mind. What you repeat within yourself should be refined enough so that you create the right sanskars within you. Your conscious attention spans direct your energies towards what you want to achieve in life. You understand? Just exposing yourself to anything. Last class, I think I told you that just handling your mobile because your mind is vacant, because you don't know what to do with your time, or the mind is too restless to concentrate. If you do such sort of things, you are simply wasting your energies. You understand this? You must handle technology as it will be beneficial to you, as a tool. Don't succumb to it. So these are the factors which create your neural pathways. All the time they are working for you. This is, in fact, the law of neural connections. There's a whole law in that. We will apply it to your own life through examples, but just understand this Hebbian's law of neural connections. You see, neurons that fire together wire together, he says. Neurons that, isn't this quite obvious? Neurons that fire out of sync will fail to link. And if you don't use certain pathways, you will lose them. इसीलिए तो repetition होता है. In school, many times when you had to learn something, they asked you to by heart the thing, isn't it? In religious people, वो एक ही मंत्र बार बार करते रहते हैं, एक ही scripture बार बार पढ़ते रहते हैं. क्यों करते हैं? Why repetition is important? It is creating the solid neural pathway. That is why all of this is important. In your own life today, you see how the neural connections are getting formed. Neurons that fire together, wire together. If you are finding a mathematical concept difficult to understand, associate it with a picture. You can associate it with a visual aid. It will become slightly easier to understand. Next time, just the model which you have created will help you recapitulate the equation. This is how Hebbian's law of neural connections works for you even in your studies. So understand, you are creating your neural pathways through your exposures, through your learning, through your repetition, through your conscious attention spans. This is actually the law of association and conditioning. This is how you create the nature of your mind. That is why do it consciously. You see, if you change any one of these, you can change your neural pathways. Hai na? If you give yourself a totally different kind of exposure, you are changing the connections in your brain. If you repeat the right things, discard the wrong things, you are changing your neural pathways. If you put consciously your attention on the right things in your life, many times क्या होता है? You are brooding about something which you will never experience in your life. You are worried about something which does not matter to you. It is totally irrelevant to your life, but you are worrying about it. You are giving a lot of emotion to it. Why do such things happen? These are ways of, you see, your entire energy will be sidetracked if you indulge in all this. And then you don't have enough energy for concentration. So try to remove all these things from your life by conscious attention spans, focusing on what you want to achieve. You are capable of doing it. आज तक आपने ये किया है. That is why you are here today. Do it in a more concentrated way. You create your neural pathways. Remember this.
Ma'am,
Yes?
how will we
Very good. You see, what I'm just now telling you is conscious attention spans. He is asking a question, what about the subconscious mind? For this, I have created a model which I will show you just now. You see, your conscious mind is just a strip on the subconscious mind. आप जो consciously think करते हो, don't think it just remains there. Whatever you think, it goes and lodges itself into the subconscious. When you think it, हम योग psychology में उसको वृत्ति कहते हैं. It creates modification in the conscious mind that goes and lodges itself in the subconscious. तब उसको हम संस्कार कहते हैं. And ये ऐसे ही बैठे नहीं रहता वहाँ पर. It fructifies again into conscious thought after some time. Then we call it memory. It's your own conscious thinking. At some point of time you did it, you repeated it, it went into your subconscious, it became a sanskar. These very sanskars generate your memories. And memories fructify again in your conscious mind as thoughts after some time. है ना? See, today you are hearing this lecture. Let me give you an example. You are hearing this lecture today. Your conscious mind has generated a number of thoughts based on these slides. You have understood the concepts. What will happen now? When you repeat it, when you think over it again and again, it will go and lodge in your subconscious mind as a sanskar. ये वृत्ति संस्कार बन गए. After some time, maybe after a week, you will recollect these concepts again. When you need them, maybe after a month, maybe after 6 months, when you need any of these concepts, you will recollect them, which means you remove them from your subconscious mind. They again become vrittis, again become conscious thoughts in your conscious mind. So you see, memory is nothing but recycled conscious thought. You understand? Recycled through your subconscious. Subconscious mind takes in every impression of the conscious mind. Everything will go and lodge itself in the subconscious. इसीलिए how you handle your conscious mind, your everyday thinking, your feeling, it's all important. It is going to decide the actual content of your entire mind. Conscious mind is a strip, then there's subconscious, there's also an unconscious portion. So the thing is how you handle your conscious mind. Your conscious mind is the inlet. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? Conscious mind is the inlet to the subconscious and the unconscious. So if you handle your conscious mind maturely, you actually decide the content of your entire mind. This is what I will show you in a slide. You see, yoga psychology on how to change your habits or neural pathways. अब आप देखो, this is your conscious mind, the upper strip. There you are generating your thoughts based on your exposures. मैंने 2 images दिए हैं वहाँ पर, ये roses and trees. Why I have given you those images is what you take in through your senses is deciding your thoughts, isn't it? आप जो देखते हो, जो सुनते हो, that creates the ideation in your mind, the mentation. That is called vritti, which means a modification in your mind. It doesn't just stay there, it goes into your subconscious and becomes your sanskar. And after some time, it will again fructify as conscious thought. That is when you call it memories. So ये जो चक्र है, ये चलता ही रहता है हमारे मन में. Everything is decided by what you take in through the conscious mind, isn't it? That is generating your memories also later on. What is memory is nothing but recycled conscious thought. So be careful about what you see, what you take in through your senses. Make sure it is the right and the good thing for you. That will decide the contents of your mind. That will decide entirely how your mind will function. इसको वृत्ति संस्कार चक्र कहते हैं. It is there in Patanjali Yoga Sutra का व्यास भाष्य जो है. It's a huge commentary on Patanjali Yoga Sutras. There he dwells on this. So it is a perfect understanding of how your mind is functioning. And this is what is creating your neural pathways. Habits, you know, once you create a habit, it is difficult to change the neural pathway. है ना? It is difficult to change. Why? You have started riding the horse. You don't know where it is taking you. Habit का nature ही ऐसा होता है. You see, in the word habit, H-A-B-I-T, if you remove H, what remains? A bit remains. If you remove A, क्या रहता है? Bit remains. If you remove B, still it remains. Habits cannot be easily changed. इसलिए right type of habits have to be created, especially at this age. Now if you create the right type of habits, your whole life will just bloom into something very beautiful. अभी अगर आप बोर हो जाओ, ये सब कुछ पता नहीं क्या बोल रहे हैं, it's not so very interesting. I'm more interested in only things which stimulate my senses. If this is the condition just now, you will not be able to create the right habits. Understand, you will fall for what is immediate. You understand? And you won't be able to bounce back so easily. So, get a deep knowledge of the subject. That is why I say. That is why they are organizing these classes here. So that you get a hold over yourself first before you start working in this world. So, ये पूरा आपको समझ में आया?
Consciousness is related.
Yes. You see, what we are dealing with here is the working of your mind. What is it that makes your mind work, function? Consciousness shining behind the mind. Because there is consciousness, the mind becomes conscious. That is why the conscious mind is able to retain whatever it sees. You understand? You see that video camera also is capturing images. What is the difference between you and the video camera? You are experiencing every image. It becomes an experience to you. You see this slide, you actually understand the whole concept. You experience the concept as an enlivened something within yourself. That video camera is tracking images, it doesn't experience anything. The difference is you are a conscious entity that has no consciousness. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? This is the difference between mind and consciousness. Because consciousness is standing behind the mind, your mind is able to function as a conscious entity. It is able to convert every image into experience. Try to capture this point. आप देखो, what is light? Tell me. What is light? Tell me from your physics. Yes, it is electromagnetic radiation within the visible range. Okay. Now, of course, it is electromagnetic radiation at a very wide range. Visible light is a small portion of it. When it enters into your eye, it becomes color to you. How? It is just electromagnetic radiation of a certain wavelength. It becomes color to your experience. How? If electromagnetic radiation enters a gadget, does it experience color? How does it appear as color to you? Which means there is something inbuilt within you which enlivens that, which gives it the characteristic of color, which helps you experience electromagnetic radiation as color. That is your consciousness. Every impression coming into you is an experience. Every sensation coming into you is an experience to you. It is not an experience to the gadget which is tracking electromagnetic radiation. This is the difference between living and non-living. You understand? You are living entities. Living means consciousness has come into manifestation. It is enlivening the instrument. Non-living means not that consciousness is not there. There is no instrumentation for it to enliven itself. Consciousness is always shining on everything. It lends existence to non-living things. It doesn't lend them consciousness. But to living entities, it is rendering them conscious. So this is how consciousness and mind are related. You cannot separate the two. Because consciousness is shining on your mind is functioning as it should. समझ में आया आपको? Yes?
How do we draw a line between the consciousness and the thoughts?
Very good. What is the demarcating line between the two? You see, consciousness itself does not think. It thinks through the instrumentation of your mind. Your mind produces thoughts. But if the mind was producing thoughts and there was no consciousness, you would not know it is your thought. It is an enlivened something. You would not know that. Because consciousness is shining behind the mind, your thought means something to you. The thought is an interpretation. The thought is something which is of value, which has meaning to you. Because you are a conscious entity. Because consciousness is shining on that thought. Okay? If I just write something, now suppose let me write here. Suppose I write here, life is beautiful. Does this screen experience this statement? But for you it means something very beautiful. The fact that life is beautiful has meaning for you. It has no meaning for the screen. You are a conscious entity. Your consciousness through your mind interprets the meaning of this. This is no conscious entity. So this has no value for this. This is the connection between consciousness and thought. You understand? Beautiful thoughts may be there. If they are in somebody's mind, that is something beautiful. Otherwise, thoughts by themselves, what value they have? You render things beautiful. You give beauty to things which are beautiful. इसीलिए मैं कह रही हूँ, understand the subject. Life will become more and more beautiful because your mind will become beautiful. If you are all objective, you get only superficial knowledge of things. If you penetrate into the subject, you will be seeing things from inside out. You will become a rishi. Don't think rishis ran away from life. They experienced life fully because they had hold over themselves. They had hold over their own minds. Yes, there's a question there.
As for this, right, like subconscious mind interprets whatever we see as consciously, right? So the dream of a place which conscious mind never visits. So what you call how it's coming to a person?
You are asking the image of something which you have never experienced.
Yeah, dream of a place which a person never visits consciously,
Hmm.
and it coming in his mind, or so how it can be.
See, there are different explanations to this question. One is, in the past at some time, you may have visited some place which you have forgotten. There is also a past life theory. Some point of time you have visited the place which you don't remember. So it is coming in your memory. You understand? There are many such things. You see, mind, it's a huge reservoir of impressions from the very past. This is just one small phase of your living. You know what you call your life just now. You are an old soul. कितने सारे experiences के बाद फिर हमारे शास्त्रों में है human birth होता है. So many experiences are already accumulated. You never know what is popping up in your memory just now, from which experience. But it can also be pure imagination. You see something coming into your dream. Don't take it as something coming from past life. It need not necessarily be so. It could be just an imagination in your conscious mind at some point of time which you have forgotten. You understand? People sometimes they get nightmares. Maybe in childhood they had seen some movie which had some terrible scene, and then that is popping up in much later, and they have forgotten about the movie entirely. So this is also a possibility. So ये क्यों हो रहा है, that doesn't matter. कैसे हो रहा है? Why it is happening? That's the mechanism we are studying just now. You understand? Experiences can happen due to many things. Yes.
When you mention about this, life is beautiful and there is consciousness.
Yes.
That is going on. So if I say that life is beautiful, it is just the software of my mind.
Just the?
The software.
Okay. Yes.
Of the brain
Yes. Yes.
is able to interpret with certain conditioning and certain learning.
Yes.
And the another part, when we say that there was one more thing. So I think it is more about brain and it's more about that part rather than something conscious or not conscious about it.
Okay. So he's basically saying that what's the difference between mind, brain, and consciousness? And why should I say consciousness? Why should I posit consciousness at all? It is to do with the hardware and software. You see, your mind is actually the software, and the brain is the hardware. Something like your mobile instrument. The network is there, so your mobile instrument is working. The mobile instrument is the brain. The network is your mind. That is bringing in all the stuff to you. Whatever the mobile is showing you. He's saying this can be all that there is. Please understand this. There's a basic difference between your mobile and you. What is the basic difference? Mobile also is showing you many things. A robot can do many things. What is the difference between a robot and you? It will work only as per its programming, as per its software. You are working as per the software inbuilt in your mind, yes, but as a conscious entity. You are able to see the mind also objectively. You are able to experience the mind and interpret whatever the mind says. ये आप कर सकते हो, एक robot ये नहीं कर सकता. It will work only as per its programming. The mobile will work only as per its programming. You can even observe your mind. Can the mobile observe itself? Can the mobile observe its network? You can observe your mind. In Vedanta, this is how the difference is understood. Why is the mind not consciousness itself? Why there is another entity called consciousness behind the mind? Because the mind is an object of cognizance for you. The mind can also block out awareness from time to time, or allow awareness. Just a deep sleep may, the mind actually shuts down, so you don't feel the awareness. Although awareness never shuts down. So you see, your mind is an object of cognizance for you. So you cannot be the mind alone. It's an object. It is something like an instrument in your hands. That is why you are positing consciousness. Logically also you can understand it, but you actually have to understand it through meditation. If you remove thought from your mind, which means you are shutting down the mind, do you remain over or not? क्या होता है, आपने कभी ये ट्राई किया है? If you remove thoughts from your mind, what happens? Nothing happens. Or awareness is there. Or well, nothing happens, you go into sleep. क्या होता है? Awareness is always there. Thoughts come in and out of that awareness. इसका मतलब क्या है? There is awareness behind the thought process, behind the mind. It is always existing. That is why consciousness comes into the picture. You understand? You cannot explain everything just in terms of mind and brain. Just now you are thinking of awareness. But if you actually understand it through meditation, you will see your thought is actually entering your awareness and moving out of it. Awareness is fundamental even to the thought process. ये अनुभव का विषय है. ये सिर्फ चिंतन का विषय नहीं है. ये कैसे अनुभव किया जा सकता है? By stopping thought for some time you can do it, or by just penetrating into the heart of awareness. You see, if you have a very subtle meditative mind, you can simply penetrate into the state of awareness. Then you will see, you can watch it clearly, your thoughts, your emotions, your body consciousness, the objective world comes in and out of your awareness. It moves in and out. एक primary reality है जिसके बीच ये आके आना जाना करता है. This is the understanding you will arrive at. But without the power of yoga, the power of meditation, it will appear like awareness is just a thought. Because we are so identified with our thoughts. You understand this? This is the basic difference. He has asked a very valid question actually. This is the basic difference. इसीलिए इन चीज़ों को समझने का एक तरीका है. And that is through meditation. We will be going into that after some time. Get all these basic concepts clear. Now, yesterday we also discussed something about flow. Isn't it? Flow ke bare mein, yesterday I had introduced you in the last class to this concept of flow. Here you have to understand some very important points for your own sake to be able to handle your mind better. To generate concentration to a high degree, you have to understand a few points here. You see how to achieve this flow. Now, this concept of flow, as you may be knowing, it is given by Miha Csikszentmihalyi. His name is like that. Okay, it's written a little differently, but that's how it's pronounced. He has given this wonderful concept, which means when are you absorbed in a particular task? आपके लाइफ में ये अक्सर होता है. You are absorbed in something particularly and it gives you a lot of joy when you are absorbed into it. When your skill and your challenges meet. You see, if you are skillful at something and a corresponding challenge comes before you, then you rise up to the challenge and it generates the state of flow in your mind. It's a function between skills and challenges. आपको समझ में आ रहा है क्या कहने की बात कर रहे हैं? Suppose you are very good at calculus and a challenging problem came before you. You at once rise and attack the problem and you get absorbed in it. Flow will be generated naturally. Any activity where your skill meets your challenges. If the challenge is too great, your skill is limited, then what will happen? Anxiety will arise. If the skill is too great and the challenge is not there, then boredom will arise. But if the two are compatible, they rise together. Skill is there and challenge has arisen, then naturally flow is generated in your system. You get into a state of deep concentration, naturally, absorption. So this generates a lot of joy in your system. This is the joy of engagement. Now, any activity which you like can absorb you. He says, like, for example, you see reading, rock climbing, playing music, creating, building, designing, card making, singing, playing tennis, solving mathematical problems, playing chess. Innumerable examples of flow are there, where flow can be generated in your system. What yoga psychology will add to this is a wonderful concept. Yoga psychology will say, it's not necessary you require a challenge to generate flow. If a challenge is required, you are on push start. You can do this on self start. You can generate flow on self start just if you regulate your vrittis and pratyas. Sajatiya ekagra vritti pravaha idea in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Iska matlab hai you generate a state of deep level concentration and absorption by yourself. Even before a challenge has come before you, you can generate it in your mind if you regulate your thoughts and vrittis, which means the modifications, the fluctuations of your mind. कल लास्ट क्लास में मैंने आपको बोला था, whenever you think a thought, your mind undergoes a modification. That modification of your mind is called vritti and the thought itself is called pratyay. So इन दोनों को stabilize करने से वो जो image मैंने वहाँ दिया है, it's a picture of vrittis and pratyays. If you stabilize those two, इसका मतलब है आप your thought is very stable. It is not shaky, which means your attention is very stable. And your vrittis, which means the modification your mind undergoes due to the thought, that is also very stable. Your mind is not shaky. Your mind does not break into vrittis or does not fluctuate, does not turn this way and that way. Then you will be able to generate this state of flow spontaneously by yourself. Deep concentration, ekagrata you will achieve. So you see, flow, it should be on self-start. Then anything you apply it to, you will be successful in that. You understand? You can generate this in your own system by yourself. And this is the training given in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, your ability to do this. See, if you cannot concentrate and hold your attention at a point, you cannot be successful in life. समझ में आ रहा है? Successful people are people whose concentration and attention does not flicker. They are able to maintain consistent and concentration for long periods of time, sustain their concentration, and without too much effort, without stressing themselves. How they are able to do it? Basic stability of vritti and pratyay is there. Basic inner stability is there. So this is something you have to learn to generate in your system. तब आपको flow naturally, you will rise up to any challenge naturally. You will naturally develop the skill towards it. So this is a possibility with you. Your entire success in life depends upon your concentration. Your happiness depends upon your concentration. You know, analyze your states of supreme happiness. They were states of absorption into something maybe, but states of absorption in your mind. Isn't it true? Something, these days, you know, you are asked to be on very erratic modes of thinking and life. What is called the excitability mode. इसमें उतना happiness नहीं मिलता. Analyze it and see for yourself. Just to be excited about something, you will remove the happiness from your system. If you are stable and balanced and a deep calmness prevails in you and this kind of stability, flow will be generated in any activity and you will always be happy. Flow leads to happiness. It's a factor for happiness. It engages you deeply, spontaneously into something without even too much of conscious effort. And you experience a higher form of happiness due to that. So learn to generate it in your own system by bringing stability to your attention. ये असल चीज़ है. Then you will be on self-start. ये समझ में आया? This is another factor which contributes to your happiness. Now, I also spoke about levels of happiness in the last class. You see, these are the levels of happiness available to you. It is actually a ladder inbuilt in your central nervous system and brain. This is a ladder inbuilt within you. The lowest rung of the ladder is sensory happiness. After that is thought or the level of emotion. If these two are refined, you step up to the next rung. After that is intellectual happiness. यहाँ आप बहुत कुछ add कर सकते हो. जैसे here I can add the level of creativity. This generates a lot of happiness for you. Isn't it creative work? You take up something like music, painting, along with your regular curriculum, and you see your mind remains so fresh because it's a creative output from your side. And then intellectual happiness, any form of abstract thinking and absorption, and higher levels of creativity. All this generates an enormous amount of happiness in your system. Spiritual happiness also has to do with service. Here I can add service activities, acts of kindness which you will be doing in your practicals, acts of empathy, एक सद्भाव सभी के प्रति. ऐसे होने से your mind will always remain glad. A gladness will prevail in your mind. किसी चीज की आवश्यकता नहीं होती. ये चीज मेरे लाइफ में आए, then only I will be happy. Such equations you will not make. Your mind is naturally happy because it is in a particular sattvic state of very balanced emotion, refined emotion, higher thinking, of greater awareness. So you see, this is a ladder of happiness given to you. Now, the problem occurs in your life if you try to maximize happiness only at the sensory level. Many times what we feel is, यहाँ चीज़ें accumulate करने से मेरा happiness बढ़ जाएगा. Here just now maybe there are things which make me happy. The latest iPhone is making me feel very happy. So if I go on accumulating at this level, things like the iPhone, today iPhone, tomorrow the latest television, after that this and that and that and that object, if you accumulate only at one level, you will not become proportional. Yesterday, the last class I told you about diminishing marginal returns in your investments. It's something like that. There will be diminishing return if you work only at one level. The way to happiness is step to the next rung of the ladder. Here, minimal. Next, better. But still it's not long lasting. The next rung is even better. You see, intellectual absorption, think and see, it gives you far greater joy. Isn't it? Generation of flow in intellectual activities gives you great joy. Service activities will actually flood your mind with happiness. At that moment of time, you may not understand. Over a period of 1 week, you will understand your mind is in such a beautiful state. Why? You have done something for somebody somewhere. Service activities give you that joy. And then, spiritual joy, the joy of inner absorption, meditation, concentration at very high levels. All this will actually absorb you within. Is the highest level of joy, ecstasy, what is called. भाव समाधि आपने सुना होगा. लास्ट टाइम एक क्वेश्चन भी था समाधि के ऊपर. सो यू सी देर आर different levels of joy available to you. It's a ladder. What you have to understand from this ladder, one thing is, if you try to maximize happiness at one level, you will lose happiness. Climb one rung after the other. It's a vertical ladder. And the higher the rung you climb, the more long-lasting is your happiness. Understand this from this ladder. And where is this ladder built? In your own system. In your central nervous system and brain. That is why yoga एक ऐसा method है which helps you systematically climb this ladder. You understand? You see, yoga leads to altered states of awareness which yield higher happiness. It will naturally take you up this ladder. That is why bring something of this into your life. वहाँ मैंने एक image दिया है. It is an image of where all you can concentrate. There are certain junction points in your own system where you can concentrate pranic energy. तो योग में बोलते हैं कि अगर आप ठीक पॉइंट्स पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करो, इट विल लीड टू हायर अवेयरनेस इन योर सिस्टम. इट्स अ वे ऑफ क्लाइंबिंग दिस ladder of happiness. We will try to understand this in a more concentrated way. Yes. One minute. Yes.
When we climb to a higher rung,
Yes.
should we abandon things in lower rung or what?
Should we?
Abandon things?
No. Not abandon. Stop the accumulation of things just at one level. This is what you will be doing. Once you get happiness at a certain level, let me take the example of a sweet meat. शायद आपको मसाला डोसा बहुत अच्छा लगता हो. How much can you have? And over a period of week, how much can you have? After that, you will get bored with it. After some, if you overindulge, you will get fed up with it. So, आपको क्या करना है? Next rung, go to the next rung of the ladder. trying to maximize happiness there only, ये तो बहुत छोटी चीज़ है. Many times you do this with all sorts of emotions. If you try to maximize it there, it will only lead to frustration. This is a law in yoga. समझ में आया आपको? This is how you climb the next ladder.
Can I just give an example?
Yes.
See, on a, like, okay, today I have a Hyundai i10, okay? It's a car that takes me from point A to point B, which is the whole purpose of a car, okay? But I want a BMW, and I will not be happy till I don't get that BMW. Is that really necessary to my happiness? It's not. It's doing nothing. There is no utility aspect, but my happiness is hinged on getting that BMW. I see my neighbor driving it, it burns me up every time I see it.
That
So
is
I'm-
why.
Yeah. So I'm focusing now on the sensory part of it, and I'm fixing my happiness, which is actually internal, onto an external object. So tomorrow I collect enough money, I get a super job, I get lots of money, and I buy my BMW. For 1 week I'm very happy, for 1 month I'm very happy, I show off in front of my relatives, my neighbors, my everybody. After that it gets a few scratches, it just becomes another car. Now I want that, I bought a 3 series, now I want the 7 series. So what I do is,
At one level, you are trying to maximize happiness. So that will not work.
and that will always be for a short span of time. Yeah, but instead if I say I'm happy with my i10, or maybe I can get a more, I have a big family now, you know, I've got a second child has come in, so I needed maybe a slightly bigger car. But I'm looking at the utility factor. So I am working on a sensory level, I am working on a worldly level, but I'm taking things which are of utility to me, not because I want to show off, not because my neighbor has it or somebody else has it. And then I'm focusing my mind on the thing that will really give me more happiness, which is music. So I love going to concerts, and you know, and I realize when I am in a concert and you know this beautiful music, it gives me far more happiness than driving in a Mercedes or in a BMW. And then I realize I go on to an intellectual thing. Sometimes I'm sitting with my friends and having a real intellectual discussion, and that evening was the best evening of my life. Have any of you experienced something like that?
Yes, on a regular basis, I think you experience it, isn't it? There are different levels of happiness, that is why. And you are asked to climb one rung after the other.
I just want to ask what is emotional here? I can understand sensory, intellectual and spiritual and
Yes.
creative.
Yes.
What is emotional happiness?
हाँ, इमोशनल हैप्पीनेस में अच्छे अच्छे भावों से जो सुख मिलता है, लाइक काइंडनेस, एम्पैथी.
But वो service
हाँ, सर्विस के अंदर वो पढ़ते हैं. यू सी इन सर्विस एक्टिविटीज व्हाट हैपेंस इज योर होल सिस्टम गेट्स रिफ्रेश्ड. हियर आई एम जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट इमोशनल हैप्पीनेस इन एट दिस रंग.
With your loved ones.
Yes. Now, for example, here in the emotional level, अगर आपके अंदर सद्भाव हो तभी तो सर्विस आएगा ना. हाँ, you will have the propensity for service only if you put yourself in a very empathetic position, which means you are empathizing with somebody who doesn't have something maybe. So that's why this is the second rung of the ladder. अच्छे अच्छे भावों को encourage करना. You are verily what your bhav is. So that is why this forms the second rung of the ladder. When you actually do the act based on this emotion, your whole system will get flooded with joy. आपको पता है आपका health भी improve होगा. The more you do for others, विवेकानंद ये हमेशा कहते थे, if you only lock yourself within yourself, you will be a very miserable person. It will only lead to frustration. Swamiji कहते थे, if you want to lose your peace of mind, think only of yourself. If you want peace of mind, learn to think of others. So all these are natural methods for you to expand your mind, expand your awareness and develop inner joy. किसी ऑब्जेक्ट की आवश्यकता नहीं होती अगर आप ये करते रहो. You see, there are very many philanthropists. You see their life. आप बिल गेट्स का लाइफ ही पढ़ के देखो. What is it that gave these people this incentive to do so much of good work? They used to say, I get happiness out of it. I feel supremely happy. I feel my life is meaningful.
Then, like with these examples, I feel that intellectual comes below emotional. In terms of, because intellectual is self-based.
Okay.
Emotional, I have to think about somebody.
Yes, that applies maybe in her case. In many cases, the effective experience is more important than the intellectual experience. Yeah, this is quite obvious in many cases, but not in all cases. In some people, Intellectual joy will, you see, intellectual joy is not essentially selfish. You cannot say it is for me. When you are actually attacking a problem or solving a mathematical problem, you actually become impersonal. And your contribution also will be like that. You know, intellectual contribution makes you impersonal many times. I can give you one wonderful example right from the life of Sir Albert Einstein. It's a wonderful example. You see the importance of knowledge, how it liberates you from the self. When the Jewish state was created, Israel was created, you know, as the first president, Einstein was welcomed to become the first president of Israel. And he refused. That time he was in the US. He was a German Jew who had settled in America. And he refused. And then they asked him, why? You are also a Jew, and then it would be a great thing for this nation if you... He was already so famous due to his E is equal to MC squared. Wow, it would be such a good thing if you took up the presidentship of this new nation, new state. And you know what he said? He said, look, presidentship will come and presidentship will go, but an equation is forever. Knowledge, intellectual, this level of activity liberates you from the self, liberates you from the ego. So you cannot say it is actually selfish work. It's a higher level of joy. Anybody will experience it. Anybody who works at that level of intellect actually liberates you from everything. Intense involvement. This will be the kind of lifestyle you will adopt in the future, because you will be working at that level of intellectual activity. You understand? It should liberate you from the self. Analyze your best moments of happiness. They were a liberation from all objects, all concepts. It was a complete freedom and awakening into full awareness. Only it happened unconsciously. It was given to you as a gift. You can learn to build it up consciously. This is what we are saying. Through transcending this ladder. Yes.
While one is serving,
Yes?
while one is doing service,
Huh.
so should he be aware about what he is doing, or even if he does not know the actual value of what he is doing, then also it is the same case.
No, even if you do not know the value of what, means somebody doing service, you mean. Even if you do not know the value of what you are doing the thing has an impact on your mind. I may not know this ladder, you understand, but doing a service activity will put me into a state of higher happiness. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? Doing the thing creates the संस्कार. इसके पहले के स्लाइड में I showed you vritti creates संस्कार, isn't it? By thinking of something, the sanskar is created. Doing creates it even better. First you think it out and you act according to that thought, and the sanskar will be very solid. इसीलिए तो आपके practicals है इसमें, इस कोर्स में. आपको जाके करना है, कुछ चीज़ें करनी है. It's a beautiful way for you to experience higher happiness. You yourself will understand. This happiness does not come to you in the form of excitability. You understand? It's not something which comes to you in the form of something you feel immediately about. But it will gladden your heart and mind to such a measure, even after a week. You know, this is an experiment carried on, service activities, and this is what it was found. Even after a week, you are in a happy, very balanced state of mind. Because of that service act, your heart has expanded. So, is tarah ka joy this gives you. Now, let me go into this. We have only a few minutes now. You see, insights of yoga. What exactly does yoga psychology, what insights it throws into happiness? You see, in the first graph which I've given you, this is the normal way in which you experience happiness. Over time, you see, there's a base level of happiness to which your moods will keep coming to. When good things happen, your happiness peaks a little. When bad things happen, it dips a little, and it keeps coming to the base level of happiness. A kind of stability which you try to... at this age, you know, you're generally quite happy. The base level is generally quite high. Now, what yoga, Vedanta and all aim at is not just that you will not dip, but the very base level will rise higher. The base level of your happiness will be higher. The gladness that prevails in your mind due to higher awareness, due to freedom from unwanted thoughts, due to freedom from wrong conditioning, all this will make you more and more happy. The quality of happiness will be much better. So the base level of happiness is raised through yoga practice, through meditation. You understand? It's not just about regulating your mood fluctuations. The very level of your happiness is raised higher. This is an equation also which you should understand. Just abhi sun ke rakh lo, at some point of time maybe you can use it. You see your vital energy levels. Vital energy का मतलब क्या है? आपके अंदर जो psychic energy है ना, there's a flow of psychic energy in your system which makes thought possible, which makes emotion possible. Yogis try to understand everything through psychic energy, and Jnanis and all these people try to understand through thought, and Bhaktas try to understand through emotion. Intellectual people try to understand through intellectual concepts. So you see, vital energy is an important part of your being. You can localize it at different levels in your body. I showed you an image of that yoga before this. You can localize it at certain junction points. According to that, your awareness unfolds. This is what this graph is saying. The greater the vital energy in your system, the more committed to higher levels, the greater will be your awareness. Sun ke rakh lo, kisi samay ye kaam aayega. Those two graphs are the most profound actually. The graphs are telling you your happiness is an exponential function of your awareness. The level of awareness in your mind decides your happiness. If awareness level is very low, you know what will prevail in your mind? Unwanted thoughts, worries, anxieties, all kinds of emotions. If awareness levels are high, thoughts are under your control, emotions are under your control. So happiness will be at its peak. Happiness is proportional to the awareness in your mind. It's an exponential function of your awareness, actually. And if awareness levels peak, happiness will peak. If awareness levels dip, all kinds of negativities, worries can find place in your mind. So how to generate, cultivate higher awareness in the mind? This is what actually yoga is about. सुन के रख लो, ये चीज़ें काम में आती हैं बहुत. So you understand how I generate happiness in my system by myself. Not due to an object, not due to some person, not due to some relationship or something external. From my own system, how I can generate the higher happiness. These are graphs which are telling you that. Next, let's go to, well, we don't have time for this today because time is nearly up, isn't it, Didi? 7:30. I will just go into this and finish with today's talk. You see, your happiness and awareness, this is connected to the last slide. This is how they are related. Your experience of life is in your awareness, right? Okay, you agree with this? Awareness is always experienced in the first person. Is this right? It is not in the third person. Your awareness is always in the first person. And it is fundamental to your thought process. Because awareness is there, thought means something to you. Thought is an enlivened something. So this is the first point. Awareness percolates through the intellect and mind and enlivens them. This is what we learned in the last class and this class. If they are clear, your happiness will be clear. You see, your instruments of perception, your mind, if that has clarity, awareness translates into happiness there. If that is clouded, cluttered, with all sorts of thoughts, all sorts of negative things, your awareness gets blocked, and so no happiness. Then you need objects to keep you happy. You will always be chasing objects. समझ में आ रहा है ये second point? It's a vital point. Third, this is what is called the sattvic state of mind, where awareness dominates over the thought process. You are capable of this state. अगर मन राजसिक या तामसिक mode में हो, awareness will be very minimal. So you require objects constantly. You can just click it instead of writing it. Click with your camera, the slide, and take it home. You see, in the sattvic state of mind, awareness will dominate over the thought process. And that is why your happiness is ensured. Sattva ensures happiness without objects. It will be a state of your own mind. The fourth is, that is why the elements of happiness in the sattvic state are awareness, calmness, serenity, vitality, and positive emotions. You see, it's an inbuilt thing. You generate it by yourself. You are not slave to any object. You understand? You can relate with objects, bring them into your life, but you know how to handle them. You know how much to invest in them. So happiness is a state of mind based on sattva. ये सब laws हैं योगा साइकोलॉजी के. अच्छी तरह इनको आत्मसात कर लो. Absorb it within you. Happiness is a state of mind based on sattva. A state is not an object based conditional space. It is independent of content but dependent on awareness. And it can be generated not by the influx of objects but by the unfoldment of greater and greater awareness. So how you can work upon this is what you should see. Then you get your happiness from your own system. आपने देखा है ना, many people, especially spiritual people, you will see they generate their happiness from within themselves. Isn't it? They are disconnected from objects. They are disconnected even from relationships and all this. How are they able to do it? Your own system, the source of happiness is right within yourself. If you tap into it and refine your system, make your system such that it is able to bring that inner light out, that inner consciousness and joy out, you will always remain happy. This was Vivekananda's very definition of religion and education. He used to say religion is the manifestation of the divinity already in man, and education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. Perfect your instrument, the inner happiness, the inner joy, consciousness, everything will come out. You are perfectly capable of doing it. We will stop here for today because time is up. We will continue in the next class.